everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Learning Path. This is Dr. B. Meena, Head Department of Commerce and Vice Principal of Shift 1 from Petroleum College of Arts and Science, Chennai. In this video, I'm going to explain how to calculate the recovered overheads as well as the rate under overhead variance analysis. Let me check out one problem in this video. Look at this problem. From the following data, calculate overhead variances. What are the information given? We have three columns. One is particulars and the last two columns are the respective amounts and hours. Budgeted overheads. Here it represents budgeted means standard. What is the standard overheads? The standard overheads given in the form of fixed as well as variable. So fixed is 6,000, variable is 4,000. The summation of this standard overheads is given as 10,000. Budgeted output, I mean the standard output was given 10,000 units. Budgeted hours, the standard hours are 5,000 hours. The same way, we have information about the actual overheads. The actual overheads, again, it is split into two. What is a fixed actual overheads and variable actual overheads? The summation was given. And what is the actual output in units? That is 8,000 units. And actual hours worked is also given, that is 5,000 hours. This is the problem. The question is calculate overhead variances. Calculate overhead variances. So when you have this kind of problems like a fixed variable amount was given and we have the information about the standard production as well as the standard hours was given compare with the actual overheads means when you are going to calculate the overhead variances, first of all, we must calculate what is the recovered overheads. What is the recovered overheads? How to calculate the recovered overheads for the actual output? We need to calculate the respective rates. Look at these calculations. We need to have some working notes before proceeding into calculating the overhead variances. Look at the workings. Calculation of recovered overhead and rates. The first calculation I made it over here. Calculating the standard total overhead rate. How to calculate the standard total overhead rate means we just have the numerator as what is the total overheads given as budgeted divided by budgeted units. Okay, now look at the problem. Here the budgeted overheads is given as fixed and variable and get the total 10,000 divided by 10,000 units. So look at that, 10,000 rupees divided by 10,000 units. What is the standard total overhead rate? So we calculate the standard total overhead rate. Likewise, we need to calculate what is the standard fixed overhead rate and standard variable overhead rate. How to calculate means you just take alone the fixed overhead rate. Okay, so what is a fixed overhead? Fixed overhead is 6,000. So 6,000 divided by 10,000. And when you are calculating the standard variable overhead rate means 4,000 divided by 10,000. Just look at this calculation, how I work it out. So budgeted fixed overhead is 6,000 divided by budgeted units is 10,000. So what is the fixed overhead rate? As per standard means 65. The next slide, I calculated the variable overhead rate. What is the variable overhead? 4,000 divided by 10,000 units. 45 is the standard variable overhead rate. So once I calculate the variable rate as well as the fixed overhead rate and the total overhead rate as per the budgeted, I mean the standard means, next I will move on to calculate easily how to calculate the recovered total overheads, recovered fixed overheads, recovered variable overheads. Look at the calculations how I made it. Recovered total overhead, standard rate into actual output. Always the recovered total overheads has to be calculated on the actual output only. Look at the problem. The actual output was 8,000. Okay. So we need to apply on the 8,000 units for all these three calculations. I mean total overheads, fixed overheads, variable overheads for recovered. So we already made calculation. What is the standard rate for total overhead? That is 1 rupee. Okay, so 1 into 8,000 units, 8,000 rupees. Next, standard fixed overhead rate into actual output means 8,000 units into what is the fixed overhead rate I calculated so far, 65. So multiply 65 into 8,000 units means you will get rupees 4,800 as the required fixed overheads. The same way we have to calculate the required variable overheads by applying this formula. What is the standard variable rate? We calculated already 40 pies. So 40 pies into actual output was 8,000 units. So you will get the answer as rupees 3,200. So I made calculations of required total overhead, required fixed overhead, required variable overheads after calculating the variable rates, overhead rate and fixed overhead rate and total overhead rates as per standard. Now we'll move on to the overhead variance, how to calculate the overhead variance. Check out the next slide. The first one I calculated total overhead cost variance. What is the formula? We already discussed in the previous video. Required total overhead minus actual total overhead. Required total overhead, now only we calculated what is that? 8,000 rupees. So 8,000 minus actual total overhead is a combination of fixed and variable for actual, okay, which is given in the problem. Look at the problem, just check out the problem. 5,000 plus 5,000 is 10,000, which is given in the problem. So compare this. So 8,000 minus 10,000, you will get the negative answer. So that's why I mentioned as in the brackets as adverse. This is called as variance. We are getting negative variance. And the next is variable overhead variance I calculated. The formula is required variable overhead minus actual variable overheads. So required variable overhead already I calculated. What is that? 3,200. 3,200 minus the variable overheads which is given for actual is 5,000. So the answer is 1,800 adverse. The same way I have to calculate the fixed overhead variances. The formula is standard required or standard fixed overhead minus actual fixed overhead. So we calculate the fixed overhead as for the required is 4,800. So 4,800 minus the actual fixed overhead which is given in the problem is 5,000. So again you will get the negative answers. So mention as in the brackets as adverse. So we will have a verification whether our workings are right. Just look at this verification, how to do that. On the left hand side, you must have the total overhead cost variance, and which is the summation of variable overhead variance plus fixed overhead variance. Total overhead cost variance we calculate as 2,000 is equal to what is the variable overhead 1,800 and fixed is 200. So left hand side as well as right hand side answers were same. So our workings are right. So this is the way how you can work out how to calculate the overhead variances. So when you have this kind of problems, how to calculate the overhead variance means first work you need to calculate the overhead rate. How to calculate the overhead rate? So either it is for total or it is for fixed or it is for variable. So after calculating the rates, you need to likewise we need to calculate the overhead rates for total as well as fixed and variable means next we'll move on to calculate the required total overheads. I insist here the one point always the required or standard overheads has to be calculated on the actual output. Okay, so that's why we made calculation like that. What is the standard rate into actual output, whether it is for total or it is for fixed or it is for variable. Next, once we calculate the standard overheads for total or for fixed or for variable on the actual output, we need to work on the variances by applying this formula. What is the standard total overheads minus actual total overheads, or standard variable overheads minus actual variable overheads, or standard fixed overheads minus actual fixed overheads. Then after working out the solution, you just have this verification formula to check out whether your working is right. Okay. So from this problem, you come to know the basic thing how to work out the overhead variances in this video by applying the formula. Thanks for watching. See you again in next video for further more problems in overhead variance analysis. And to watch out my previous videos, check the description box. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.